Hey honey, do you want to see my custom thing? Damn, I wanted her to paint it too. Today on the Extreme Channel, I have got a sculpture made of rocks, of a man made of rocks, standing on a rock. One might say, it rocks. But seriously, this is a custom Thing statue, and it's a variant of Thing. It's not his traditional orange color, but in some of the comics, he actually came out in this mild gray color. You're thinking, really, Mr. X? No, that's not true. This is a kit or an unpainted statue of the Thing from the Fantastic Four Marvel Comics, Ben Grimm. And as I said, this is a custom piece, means it's an unlicensed private commission. They only made 35 of these, and he is 1/4 scale, so the real Ben Grimm is 4 times larger than this. If you followed the channel for a while, you know that Mrs. X hates statues. However, recently, she kind of got into painting statues, and this is going to be her first attempt at a full-size kit. I don't know who's more nervous about this, the creator of the statue, you guys, me, or probably her. But before she starts the process of painting it, we are going to do an extreme review today. And after it's painted, depending on how good she does, we're going to do another video. We'll probably do a video with some of the work in progress videos of her painting as well. But before we dive in, we are actually doing a statue giveaway. We are going to hit 20,000 subscribers in 2020. To do that, we're giving away a statue every 2,500 subs. At 15,000 subs, the winner will get to choose between these two PCS Mortal Kombat statues. Make sure that you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, and you've hit that bell notification. Then stay tuned towards the end of this video to find out how to enter. So let's start with the extreme review, talking about the concept of this piece. Obviously, this is Ben Grimm, as I said, from the Fantastic Four, the Thing. The Thing's major superpower is that he is incredibly strong and he's made of rocks. How do you kill that which is made of rocks? His only weakness is paper. And the reason why I got this statue unpainted is they only sell it unpainted or in a kit. And I actually do have another Thing statue, believe it or not. I've done a review on it. You can check it out right here. And one day, once this is painted, we will actually do an Extrumble or an Extreme Rumble, a video comparison between the two, because in the end, you only need one statue made of rocks, or a couple hundred if you're Mr. X. But let's take a look at this one, see what's different about it. So as I said, the base is made entirely of rocks, and it's kind of hard to tell because it is not yet painted. So there's a lot of different directions you could actually go in once you have it painted by a professional painter or a wife. And as you move up, he is in a museum pose, which would be incredibly difficult to put the Thing in an action dynamic pose, where he's in the middle of a swing or it's clobbering time, something of that nature. It would take up even more room than it already does at a 1/4 scale. He's got his classic Fantastic Four uniform on, which is only pants. He's the opposite of Mr. X. He doesn't like to wear shirts, but he likes to wear pants. I'm the other way around. The Fantastic Four logo you're going to see on his boots. You'll see it on his belt, so it's clear he's part of the Fantastic Four theme. And I will show you some colored renders of this or some pieces that have already been painted that I'm going to steal from some other people's posts. But up here, you see him very fierce. He has a couple head switch outs we're going to look at. But he's definitely Ben Grimm, he's definitely the Thing, and what I really love about this statue, what sold me on it, is in his right hand he is holding Dr. Doom's cloak. He's holding Dr. Doom's hood and cloak, and in his left hand, you can't see it very well, but he's holding Dr. Doom's helmet. And he's usually the member of the Fantastic Four that scares Dr. Doom the most, and this is the reason why. He clobbered him, he's completely destroyed. In this particular portrait, he has this classic cigar, as Ben Grimm always does, and he just looks amazingly fierce. I really like everything that they did with this statue. I think it really encompasses the Thing. Just like that other piece, it's also museum pose, which is what you want with the Thing, but this one adds a little bit more flair to it. Now, one of the important things with concept on this piece, obviously you don't want just a Thing statue, you want the rest of the Fantastic Four. Now, I do have 3 custom Fantastic Four pieces on order. Check them out. First, right here is this Invisible Girl. No, I'm just kidding. Here she is. Here is a custom Human Torch. And here is a custom Mr. Fantastic. So while the bases won't match, I can kind of get over that. But it does capture the Thing. I think the big thing they did is they put in the enemy of the Fantastic Four. That adds huge to the concept. They got the cigar. They got a grimacing face. They got a serene face. So I think the concept's very good. I think it's actually a 4 out of 5, so even higher than very good. It's a rail. A lot of people ask me what a rail means. That means it's... Now, since this is a kit, design-wise, there's not really a lot of different things we wouldn't talk about than we normally would. So let's start with the assembly, as we always do. Extremely heavy box, over 33 kilograms, had the weight over 70-pound sticker on it. Cool little art box, especially on the top. Your custom black foam with the straps, as it is usually. There were 2 different layers. The first layer, the heads and some other pieces right down below here, as well the sticker, and then the bottom was the base and his upper torso. Alright, so the base was very heavy. This whole statue was, probably 70 to 100 pounds. And there, magically, the base sticker comes. Now with the kit, they don't put the base sticker on there because it makes the base easier to paint. His feet are separate pieces. Again, with the kit, they try and keep the pieces separate so it's easier to paint, whether you're using a airbrush, a can of spray paint, or what I like to use is, a roller brush. And you'll see that same thing here with the belt. Now sometimes when you have a piece shipped, pieces of it break off in the middle and you hear a fun rattling sound like that. This was pretty bad on this one, especially in the torso, but the legs as well. So here's the Dr. Doom mask, and what's interesting about this is actually the front of it goes towards his palm, so you really can't see the front of it too well. So I think that was kind of not the best way to do it. And if you see my smirk right here, that's because Mrs. X is behind the camera, and she just makes me that happy. Now, unfortunately, as I mentioned, there was definitely some opportunity with the packaging. Things were just kind of laying in there, and that led to quite a few chips, actually. 3 or 4 of them. Here's some pictures right here. Gonna have to find out how to get these repaired. Not really a big fan of this. This was definitely avoidable if they packed a little bit better, so that is disappointing, but it is what it is, and it could have been much worse. As I said, there's 2 different portraits. Let's take a look at that. First is the grimacing portrait with the cigar, and this is by clearly the one I'm going to show because I like the fact he's a little more angry. It shows he really just took out Dr. Doom, where the other one, he's more serene. And once these are painted, I may change my preference, but for now, I definitely think the other one is the way to go. He does command a lot of space. Let's take the dimensions of him. So the widest point is probably where his hands and the cloak are. Is just at 22.5 inches or so. The widest point of the base is about 18. The deepest point, which is the base to the cloak, is also about 22 inches. Then he is right under 20.5 inches on the height. So he does command a lot of space, but he's the Thing. He's a huge character, kind of like the Hulk. So I think he is scaled correctly. And it's not necessarily a negative that he takes up this much space, even though he is a very secondary, or some people would even argue tertiary character. So the biggest issue was, I think, the packaging. And for that reason, though, I think it knocks it down quite a bit because I got a broken statue. Obviously, it's stuff that could be fixed, but so it's a 3 out of 5 on the design for this piece. Next, we're going to talk about paint. The paint on this sucks. It's missing. That was pretty funny, huh? Come on, did you laugh a little bit? Now let's dive into the sculpt on this piece. Obviously we're not going to talk about the paint on an unpainted kit, but we're going to do a video review because I don't think still pictures can capture a lot of the detail that's in here. That's one of the disadvantages when you are looking at just a kit. You don't always see the detail that you would see with the different paint colors on it. So check it out. Alright, so let's actually do this video a little out of order. While we're starting at the bottom, we'll start with the other portrait. So like I said, very serene. I think paint is really needed on this one for me to change my mind. However, the detail is great. I mean, the rocks, I like how there's not texture on these rocks. Typically, that's not the case with Thing. You can still see his nose, his mouth. He does have smaller eyes, especially compared to my other custom Thing. But pretty neat piece. Now the rocks on the base itself are very hard to tell, and I've seen this before with a few other kits I've had. When I get them back painted, they look phenomenal. But it doesn't appear to be too much texture. You can see a lot of the rocks jutting out in different areas. A few more of the nicks can easily be covered up by paint. These aren't as bad as the other ones you saw. I do want to look at Doom's cloak here. I love the texture on this. Tons of texture. You traditionally see that with most sculpted Doom cloaks here. I like the flow of it, almost like he's trudging along or throwing it in the wind, like he's dragging along a body almost. Very Thing-like. And then right here, the collar. So kind of the pendants and the rope that hold his cloak on look great. And you can paint that gold, have it really royal like Doom, or more of a silver and tan. A lot of different choices for that. So let's look at his boots. His boots are fantastically done. Probably the best part when you look at the sculpt. The seams, the creases, the kind of holes that are kind of like a breathing if you have running shoes. The fantastic 4 symbol on the side there. Looks great. Not only I think this is the best part of the sculpt, but ironically it's Mrs. X's part she wants to paint the most with the treads. Some cool patterns on the back there. His pants look great too. I like how you can see his anatomy underneath it. It's a little bit more muscular than it is rock-like, which I think looks better. If it was more rocks under here, I think it would look kind of strange because that's traditionally not how the Thing is drawn. But you see some creases and folds, some seam lines in there. Thing's package. Some of that texture that you saw on the boots on the sides. This pattern right here. His belt with the fantastic 4 symbol. I like that it's on his shoes and his belt. I think it's not as prevalent in the other piece I have. Very smooth on the back. But let's move up to the rocks. So this is kind of hard to judge. First of all, they look great. Like I said, no texture, or very little texture, but I think they're the perfect size. The indentations on them are not as big as they are in my other piece, which I don't think is a good or bad thing. But very rocky. I mean, I think you could actually go in a lot of different directions with paint. Obviously, you want to keep him orange, but I think there's a lot of different tints and hues you could use. Well, let's check out his portrait here. I love this portrait. I like it better, I think, than the ones on the other piece. So he's very tough. His teeth gritting together, his cigar out of his mouth, kind of like he's fed up. And I think that follows the storyline of him carrying Doom's cloak. A lot of detail in here. Fantastic job on the portrait. So overall, as I said, kind of hard to judge the Thing as a kit, whereas some of the other kits I've seen in person, you can see some of those minute details of some anatomy and things of that nature, which you typically don't see on a piece like this just because of the nature of the character. But still really cool. I mean, it's fantastically done with the sculpt. I am impressed. So I think Sculpt's done very well. Like I said, I like the fact there's not too much texture on the body of the Thing himself, because I think that's more accurate. I'm not sure about the base. I think paint will really either bring that out or make it worse, or kind of show it where it's at. But the sculpt is really well done. I mean, when you can tell it's this all solid unpainted gray color and it still looks pretty badass, I think that's a win right there. So I think the sculpt is a 4 out of 5 on this piece. Now let's get into value. So it's a very rare piece, 35 of these made. Until recently, there weren't a lot of Thing statues out there. I think Sideshow made one a while ago. There's that custom one I showed you that I have, and there's some other ones that have recently been announced and actually in the works right now. But they made 35 of these. It's an unpainted kit. The retail price was $900, which for a custom piece, $900 is nothing to shrug at. That's usually about what it is. Sometimes they come painted. This is a huge piece. So typically I would put the price tag on a painted piece like this, like $1,300 or $1,400. However, a professional paint job on this piece is a minimum, an absolute minimum of $500, if not $1,500. Plus, you have to pay shipping. Shipping was outrageous on this due to COVID times. Sea shipping, I think, was near $500, which is just crazy. But as you saw, it was a very, very heavy box. And right now during COVID times, shipping from overseas is 50 to 100% more, or sometimes 200% more than it normally is. So right now I'm $1,400 all in on this piece. And I still have to get them painted. Thankfully, Mrs. X is local, and if she can do an amazing paint job, then that may be a secondary career for her, so this may actually lead to a money-making opportunity. But let's leave that off the table. I think if you have to send this somewhere to get painted, you have to pay for it to get painted, then get it back, you're damn near in $2,500 minimum to $3,000. If you have means to paint it locally, I think that saves you $400 or $500, and you're more around the $2,000 mark, maybe up to $2,500. So $2,000 to $2,500, I think, is the average price for a rare custom painted statue. So I think the value is very good. It's almost bordering a little bit lower than that, but it is a very rare piece. It's a very cool piece, but it's so hard to judge it when I don't have it completed yet. However, on a side note, I think once the MCU redoes the Fantastic Four, the value on this will also skyrocket as well. So the last category we talk about is X Factor. What's the overall score of this statue? Is it a 5 out of 5? That's not a cumulative score. Is it a head turner? Honestly, I can't rate it because it's not painted. The reason why it's a head turner right now is because people want to walk up to it. Why isn't this painted? So I really can't give it a fair grade. I'm loving the sculpt though. I think the sculpt is incredible. I don't want to give it a final score. I will do that in the video after Mrs. X paints it. Hopefully that doesn't lower the score, otherwise the value on this statue might suck because it could cost me a marriage, which would be a lot of money. But honestly, what I really like about this piece is that it's opening the door for Mrs. X to get into this hobby a little bit, which obviously is a big part of my life. So if it causes that, I think the value on this is through the roof, and this is definitely an X statue, but we'll find out. Let me know in the comments what you think. Can you see the detail? Is this a pretty cool piece? But do this today. Throw this down in the comments. Did you like any of the Fantastic Four movies that were made? Yes or no, and put your reasoning why. And the reason I ask you to throw it on a comment is it'll help you win the statue. To win one of these Mortal Kombat statues, all you have to do is comment on a video. At 15,000 subscribers, I'm going to pick a random video and pick a random comment. That person will win the prize. They can choose between these two pieces. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to hit that Mr. X logo, subscribe, bell notification so you see when more stuff like this pops up. You can see the final painted version. Also, check out some of these other custom pieces on the playlist. But make sure to take care of yourselves and punch somebody today. Till tomorrow, take care.